Good afternoon, and thank you once again for giving me the opportunity to share with you uh, this week the Bank of America forecast and prediction capstone update for the Bank of America expansion into the United Kingdom. Start off with a forecast analysis. Simply put, it's a way for us to take a look at where we think the expansion is going to take us. As far as we're looking at projected revenue per client. It's the best way to look at it because we can use those numbers to then scale from there. Number of clients starting with just zero client zero clients all the way up through 50,000. Try to keep it a manageable number. As it goes on, what we notice is we hit the 3.5 4 year mark is where we start to see profitability rise. Because if you notice, right along that year number 4, which is the dark purple right in the middle, it's just above that zero line. That zero line is, of course, profitability. Years 1, 2, and 3 are below that. Year 4 is just above it. So we're thinking somewhere in between year 3 and 4 is where we're going to see the break even point. And then, of course, going up from there as the years go on, profitability increases. In the midst of all this, though, we have to look at ways to help mitigate risk. We can't eliminate it, so the only thing we can do is try to balance the risk with the reward and look for ways to try to decrease that. The risk in question that we're talking about for this expansion is that of loss of revenue. Obviously, as we put money into the expansion, we're going to see a large problem with the inability to create profit if clients don't remain active. We look at it as 3 different categories when it comes to their credit card activity. Inactive, which means they have the card, but they don't use it. Moderately active, which means they use it some, but not to the level that we would expect. And then, of course, active is the client that I would consider to be using their credit as a cash management tool, where they're actually using their credit card on a weekly, if not daily basis, even for small purchases, and then paying it off as time goes on. Um, Active users are going to be profitable, like we said before, from year 4 on up. That's ideal. Uh, Inactive users are never going to be profitable. Uh, it's not realistic to think that folks are going to get their credit card and never use it. So we have to look at that moderately active, somewhere kind of in between. Now, this does extend our break-even point out further. So the big risk here is that if clients are not active, they don't use their cards, then we're not going to see any revenues off of the interest or the transaction charges, and therefore we won't ever see profitability, and the expansion will be for naught. Moderately active is more realistic, but we're going to try to encourage activity through the deepening of the relationship to help diminish that risk and help put clients on a better path to full and complete financial guidance from Bank of America. One of the other aspects we have to look at is total quality control. Now, in this case here, there are 14 points that Deming stated for total quality management. Interpreted them here to show the different way we're going to implement those. So number 1, we're going to focus on the customer satisfaction. Number 2, we're going to apply this philosophy across all stages of the expansion. Then we're going to examine the client interactions for improvement, because obviously improvement is important. We have to keep growing and we have to get better. We have to focus on the idea that profits will come with satisfied clients because we are always looking for ways to improve customer service. We do need to implement training for employees and clients on both how to properly use their services, but also how to continue growing their relationship. We're going to take and transfer a proven leader from the US market to the UK market. That way we have leadership in place that is already familiar with the processes and what needs to be done and who can hit the ground running for us. We also have to not fear failure. If we have a fear of failure, then we are going to surely fail, because that's all we'll be focused on. We have to understand that it's okay to fail in small ways so that way we can grow stronger, build better, and come back from those deficits. We need to have open communication between the teams, between marketing, sales, implementation, risk management, credit quality. We have to have conversations between all those teams in order to keep the process flowing properly. We also need to eliminate buzzwords in lieu of action. Quite often in the corporate climate nowadays, you hear a lot of buzz speak, a lot of words that sound really important and everybody wants to hear, um, and they don't necessarily translate into action. So if we're going to use buzzwords, they have to be backed up by action. Um, we also need to remember to grow one client at a time. We've got to give individual team members ownership of their role, because if they have that ownership as if it's their own business, they're going to invest more of their time, skill, and heart into what they're doing. We have to continue to have ongoing training and skill building to make sure that our team, both customer service and sales wise, is the strongest that they can be. And then we have to actively act to improve over discussion. So we can't just sit back on our laurels. We have to continue to improve as time goes on. One of the tools that we can use to increase our efficiency is Six Sigma. Now, in this case here, the implementation of the Six Sigma methodology is going to help our organization to be more effective in implementing the change, but also making sure that we're not becoming inefficient. Bank of America can utilize this to make sure that we're making changes in the areas that impact the client experience in a positive way. Step one, we have to define it. We're going to expand to the UK with profitability within 4 years. We've got to be able to measure that situation. We're going to measure it through client satisfaction and client activity. We got to analyze our ongoing efforts. We got to compare the credit card only clients to the full financial relationships to see how we can better improve those relationships. Then we need to use that client experience survey to gauge the efficacy of our interactions. That way we know where we need to make changes and adjust. And lastly, we need to monitor the client experience dashboard for trends. We have to keep watching those results from those surveys to see if we are trending in an area in a negative way. If so, we need to make changes there. If we're trending in a positive way, we need to double down with those efforts. One of the things we want to implement is a simplification of the process of credit application approval. So it starts with survey. So the client gets the survey, they want to apply. That application then moves into an actual physical credit application, which then goes for evaluation and then to underwriting. From underwriting, it's going to move for approval from the customer. The customer has to actually take and agree to move forward and submit the full application to then go for credit analysis, which is where a credit pull is going to happen. You get 3 different possible outcomes. One outcome is going to be, if they have bad or no credit, it's going to get declined. If they have challenged credit, there can be an offer for a secured option. And if they have good credit, it just moves on into looking at the current relationship status. At that credit analysis stage, the credit disclosures are also provided onto the client for their perusal. Once the current relationship status is checked out, we have to make sure we have the full client profile on board. If that all looks good, it'll move on to finalizing the rate and the limit. And with that, a credit card welcome kit is mailed out to the client just for the client to look at those terms, and then they move to activation. Once the client activates it, the card becomes available for use, and we send out a follow-up survey to see how that process worked. Then the whole process starts again with that client for future needs and then also other clients. So in conclusion, the goal would be to move forward with the expansion into the UK because we see profitability inside 4 years. We need to make sure that we're focusing on credit to start with a hyper focus on client satisfaction. Like deepen those relationships quickly in order to be able to see that profitability in approximately 3 to 5 years, because we know that it could take longer if we're resting just on credit alone. Once again, thank you so much for the opportunity to present this to you today. Have a great day.